So we all have those things that drive us and motivate us to get through school. What is it that interests you? Well, for me, it's what I can correlate my future with. And that's what communications does a really good job at. They find a way for a communicational uh, background in any way or type or form. And for me, it would be more in the business and communicating. So what I had found is in presentations, advanced public speaking, and professional communications and interviewing, I had found that I can really correlate these with my future and give me a little bit of experience and practice before going into it. So what I have found from the career.gov was feedback from students. They really trying to focus, really like the experience and the actual practice before going out. And so then when they're out there, they're really comfortable and just able to kind of hop right into it like they were learning it the whole time. Same with kind of the employees. This is a feedback from the employees. They can find better new recruits just because they've had experience and they know they're not just kind of guessing at random. They're able to go through, pick, and know who has experience and qualifies for this job because a lot of times they don't have, it's just a practice when really we need more of the case studies and the real world practice. And so the benefits through the experiences, we can just go out there. We can just get right into the real world like we were almost in it the whole time. We were learning the whole time. And that is what is great about these two classes. Professional interviewing, I was able to go around and interview from classmate to classmate. And then we'd critique each other like we were there in a real interview. We had to interview the professor and he would give us great feedback. And one thing that I really learned in actually a couple of my classes from advanced public speaking, professional interviewing communications was a 60-second sell. And we all have to do that in an interview. But it's not even just an interview. It's they like to call it an elevator speech. So when you're in that 60-second elevator, you're able to get your point across and tell them a little bit about you. So when you do run into those people, you're able to get up and you have your sell and you know what you're going to say. And that way you're able to pick up a little job here and there if you find it because you never know when that moment is going to happen. Also, what I found from the New York Times is that the Americans spend less than a quarter of their time in the real world scenario, while countries like Switzerland, Norway, Denmark spend 3/4 of their time in the real work experience. And that is something that I really like to use to my future. It really helps for everyone to get experience and knowledge to understanding how we can work in the real world. So the two classes that I picked out, which I've already kind of concluded with you guys, are advanced public speaking and professional communications. In advanced public speaking, we had gone through an impromptu speech, and that was something I've never done before. I was able to step up and give a little speech on with only about 2 minutes to prepare. And that's going to happen. You're going to sometimes in the real world, when you're out there in your job, you're just going to get thrown out there and they're going to expect you to be able to do it in just a couple minutes. So that way, you should be able to be quick to your feet and quick. And that is just something I have never had to do. And when I had to do this, I really thought that I had learned and how to just hop up and get there and get my point across. Storytelling, I love telling stories. I love it. I'm not good at it, but I sure do love it. But this way, for advanced public speaking with the storytelling, I was really able to learn to get my point across, find it, and go. And that way I could end the story, because before I really couldn't really end it, I just kept going on and on. But this way I really found how to go get it done. The TED Talk speeches, I really like those, honestly, because they're informational and real-world presentations, which we are going to have to do in our job. I mean, they expect us in front of a big conference room a lot of times to get up and give us a presentation on what it is that we have to propose to our work site and to the people that we work with, which in professional communications and interviewing we had to do the same thing. I remember I worked at All Seasons Arena, and the scheduling wasn't very good, and we never really knew when we were scheduled unless we were in that time before. So this way I found an app, and to make it all easier for all of us to get into work, know if we're there, and it makes it easier on everyone. And that is just something I was able to correlate to the real world. And that stuff interests me. Just like now when I'm starting my real job, I'm finding things that that I use in the adult world, and I just get so fascinated by it because I know that this is what is going to make me uh, succeed. And same with the real world speech and advanced public speaking. I mean, I gave one on my golf team in a speech because I coached for a little bit once I got sat, and I was able to coach them through, and I actually won a conference title. And so that is something I was proud of, and helped just being able to practice it before, get experience, and understand it, because it presentations is really just as much pressure. Um, and then back over to professional communications and interviewing. We'd also interview, like I said, back and forth, understanding what one another was and give feedback through each other. We were able to go to career fairs, and we actually had to meet the career. Uh, we had to meet them, and actually, our one of our final projects in there was to interview someone from an actual company, and that person interviewing us gave us a grade based on how we were to do in that interview process, and that is as real world as it gets. And that is just something I love, being able to get out there and put it into that real perspective. Um, I just believe that this is something we really need to focus on more and more and more. Again, another class that I actually really enjoyed, and one that I just went and just couldn't keep my ears out of because I just wanted to listen the whole time. But it's Business 295. I mean, there's no points. All you did was show up and you passed. It was a pass or fail, but it was just interesting. It was interviewing. It was ways to ask questions in the interview, and that's what professional communications was. I was able just to sit there and ask him questions, how to go through an interview, how to do this, how to do that, and he had answers, and the classes were there to give feedback there and back and what they have done. And so we were able to put all our knowledge together and to correlate it to the real world and for my future. We all have our own. We have people who are going into writers, arguments. So then these other communications classes are great for those. They're able to focus and get the claims. They're able to research and do their topics. But these are what I want to do in my future. And with these classes are something that I really came in with a open mindset and just able to take in anything that I was able to learn. Thanks, guys.